two of the guys who became like the band,
Right.
and then
The drummer and
the guitar player. Yeah, so Steve
yeah.
the drummer, and Billy the guitar player,
Mhm.
and then came down to DC for a year. The year after I got married, which was I thought was going to be like fun, but it was like oil price spike. Obama gets married or gets elected.
Mhm.
You know, like that time period where it's like,
08.
okay, things are kind of feeling weird, and then just, or right as all that was happening, and like Michael Jackson died, whatever, like
Recession,
all that stuff, boosh. So
Yeah.
I get to DC, and it was just like on one hand, amazing. I was there for the inauguration, like got to like be a part of the party and the concert and the whole. I mean, not in it, but like just there, like wow, this is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that night in DC was probably
That was amazing. And
Yeah.
then every other part about being there was, you know,
Not.
so expensive and terrible. And like all my grandparents died and like, you know, like just insane.
DC is a kind of like
It's not fun if you don't have
it's-
money. I'll tell you that much. And
100%.
We did not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so then in the middle of all that though, it was like finally sort of this thing where it's like, I have one pair of pants. I can remember we were about to go on a tour and I had this one pair of pants and I walked past a nail and it just like, it wasn't like, oh, I got a cool little like tear. It like ripped from my mid thigh like down to my shin.
Oh.
And I was just like, ah! like losing my mind because like this is not even cool. This is just one leg of a pair of pants and now one short. You know,
yeah.
like and
This is your fashion. This is fashion.
Yeah,
Come,
and it
you
was-
invented fashion.
yeah,
right there.
and it was like and that's how I'm going on tour, and
Yeah.
that's how I'm living life, and that's how I go to work because these are the pair of pants I have, you know, whatever. So we were like so poor on tour, you know. I decided that it was a good idea, you know. I'd started my adult life, and it was a good time to get married. Which I'm glad I got married, but we
right.
thought we were like, oh, we got our heads around being adults, however old we were at that point, which is stupid. And then
Marriage does that to you.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
do that to you. It'll just go like, it's like, I thought I was grown.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you are a child.
Yes.
And so in the middle of that, though, it was like the iceberg or the log jam or whatever you want to say. It was like starting to crack up finally, and we had label interest and whatever. And so we were having to figure out how to get to LA to try some stuff out and, you know, all that. And then it was like, I remember having this feeling many times of like, I thought I was in the game or I thought I was doing it.
Right.
And then I like stepped past this curtain and we were on like an infinite loop on this thing. That would be cool. Just be
It's
weird.
great. It's
weird.
They're gonna think that I did this. They're
Yeah,
thinking like,
like,
yeah,
man.
dude.
That's the vibe.
Why'd you put this bit?
Yeah.
Like, no, man. I mean, he set up the vibe.
So they, so it's like there was constantly this like, okay, I thought I was touring a lot, but now I'm touring a lot. Or like, I thought I knew what was going on in the music industry, and then like, oh my gosh, all these people are back here behind what I thought was a wall or what, you know.
Oh.
So just constantly like, we're doing it. Oh no, we're just babies, you know, and it kind of but kept happening. But so around that time in DC, it was like, okay, now we're gonna really start touring. And at that point, it just made no sense for us to have a place at all. And my in-laws live out in the West End, but they have this like cabin in the back of their little property yard, whatever thing, and they're like, "You live there for free." And we're like, "Okay." There was no bathroom. It was wood burning stove and like about this size room. So
Yeah.
I don't know. This actually is probably bigger than it, but it had like a loft, you know, that we slept in and stuff. So
Wow.
it was rustic,
Man.
and but it was, you know, amazing because we got to live there for free, and it was exactly what we could afford.
Wow. And now you have. I mean, you have a couple kids.
I have a kid.
You have a kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, once that happened, and then you know you come to Richmond.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that was a long explanation.
Oh
of
no.
getting to
Sorry.
Richmond.
Yeah. Like I mean, you come to Richmond, and then you know you start to have a family. You know, you guys are touring.
Well, I didn't have a kid for quite a while.
Okay.
Still, we were married for a good bit.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, I got to Richmond and didn't really know anybody. I mean, I didn't know anybody. my wife grew up here. She had some long time, buddies, but she hadn't lived here at that point in like 8-9 years or something like that, and
Okay.
and had left around 18 or something. So it's a pretty big jump from like we were high school buddies to we're all closing in on 30 or whatever. So
yep.
a lot of them they remained tight, but it wasn't like we walked into like this social scene, and but there wasn't. I mean, the whole time I'd been touring and the whole time I've been doing music, Richmond, even though we had a free place to stay, was always kind of like an optional, like maybe we'll play Richmond,
Sure.
And people were getting beat up and, that whole thing where it was just kind of, there was a lot of like the hardcore scene was still kind of king here. And,
yeah.
And
so it didn't seem maybe not ideal at the time, but then, it kind of seemed like the scene had changed quite a bit by the time you guys had moved here. It seemed like it was becoming.
There was bands starting to happen. Like, because the first show I put together in Richmond, having moved here, was us. I think it was us, Trillions, Sports Bar, Great White Jenkins.
Ooh!
And
wow!
Yeah, that was a fun show.
Yeah, that's
gnarly.
That's a wild show.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and it was kind of me just kind of like, I mean, I don't even know how I contacted them because I like
MySpace probably
something like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I got people's numbers, and
that's crazy.
And then like it ended up being buddies with pretty much all those dudes since then, or like at least that was the foot in the door to become. It wasn't like that night we were all like we love each other, but
right. So then in that case you had migrated, if you will, to Richmond, but you didn't. It was more through your wife. You really kind of were more of an alien, if you will, to the city.
Yeah.
So
we didn't have money.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like let's go out every night and hang. It was literally like let's wait for her mom hopefully to cook us dinner every night.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's heavy, but look,
yeah.
I mean,
and so I didn't
awesome.
and then so it was both like when I'm in town, no money. I'm just I wanted to see my wife and whatever, hang out, and so
yeah.
But then about I'm not even sure that I would say we had money, but it was like at some point where it was like, okay, we're decently more like adults, and living on our own.
Mm-hmm.
I was gone easily 200 to 200 plus days a year.
Yeah.
So then I was coming home and kind of going like, all my buddies are everywhere else. Like people that we end up crashing with for a week in the middle of like weird, like off points of tour or.
Because your bass player is here in Richmond, but were the other two guys here, or where were they?
They were still in Baltimore. They still are in Baltimore.
Still in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're involved with the scene up there too, like or.
Yeah. Well, that's how we met.
Yeah.
They were in other bands, and
that's right, because you had other members, and then those guys came in later.
Yeah. So I moved to Baltimore with a band, and they either. I'm still friends with them all, but it was kind of like. I don't really want to do this, or I don't want, or I got a good job, or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Moving to China or something.
Sure.
So we, so I met them playing in other bands, and it was just kind of like, I'm serious about this. I'm not trying to just like stick around town. Like I'm trying to get in the van and go.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah, me too.
They were down.
Yeah. So that's. That was kind of probably the most powerful, or one of the most powerful forces for our band was just that we were like, yeah, we'll do it. Like we'll
down to be on the road.
Yeah, we'll take it on the chin, and remember, you hit that point where it's like you're not making enough money to live, but you also are not in town long enough to keep any kind of job, and
right. Did it
And
ever?
then you like kind of just have to keep going.
Yeah,
know?
you did. Yeah. Did it ever feel like, or did it ever feel like it became profitable at all, like with touring, or with that band? Did you ever feel like it paid off in certain ways, or?
Yeah, I mean, in the way that there's 4 of us that have paid our bills for the last probably 10 years with it. You know?
Okay.
But we've also had to manage expectations of what your bills could be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so my wife is an opera singer, and we've, gabbed about it quite a bit. Of like, I feel like there's a little bit less of this sort of like art music, just like starving artist vibe that happens in the. I mean, I don't even know if there's even rock and roll scene anymore. I'm not sure what to call it, but like whatever it is that we do,
right,
is different than classically trained musicians,
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah.
And so you start at like maybe 17, 18, 19, living in a crappy apartment, keeping a crappy job, always hoping that at some moment someone's going to go, let's go on tour, and you can, and you do. And you quit that job, and you're like, see you later. I've stopped paying my car bill. I don't care. Take it back. Like, whatever.
Yeah,
you go.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had all these friends that were great musicians, and they would graduate from, grad school or get their doctorate or whatever, and then immediately get a pretty decent day job, very expensive apartment, nice car, within 6 months of graduating from whatever level of higher education they did.
Mm-hmm.
They were out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even a chance that you're going to be a musician at that point. And I was like, we could basically go in and be like, here's how to be a here's how to at least try to be a musician, is like, don't get a nice apartment, get a job you hate that you will quit immediately if you get any kind of opportunity, don't get a car payment, all this
don't get attached to anything, really.
But it's weird how it felt like that was ingrained in my world, but not in this sort of higher music sort of. I think people go to college and they expect to get paid. It's like, you're never going to get paid.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many talks with my wife about this.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing going through life. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you were saying also. So yeah, your wife is she's an opera singer.
Yeah.
So she's gone like a different trajectory as well.
Yeah.
Because opera has like seasons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's also gone through a big change since even like right around her career. Like there was this thing as she was coming up through school where it's like, in opera, your career doesn't even start till your mid-30s because your voice is still maturing and becoming what it is.
Wow.
But then opera also was like, oh wait, never mind. Let's have some 18-year-olds, that can fake it.
Right.
And so she was like getting that, like, oh yeah, well you do all the understudy stuff, blah blah blah. And then she's approaching early to mid 30s, and now they're like, oh, we're just looking for like some 16-year-old, that's like a fake, kind of doing an impersonation of opera or what. I mean, not that there's no real singers that are doing well, but there was this sort of huge shift in mentality and sort of even like, here's how to expect the pace of your career to go. That kind of flipped right at the wrong time,
Interesting
for her. But she, I mean, same time, because we were living the way we were, she had a career that was much longer and in a lot of ways a lot more successful than a lot of the people she went to school with. But I mean, there's like probably, I mean, if you think the pool of people that are successful at playing like rock or whatever is small, like the opera world is like literally, you should be going to auditions and it's like there's 700 people auditioning for this one part or something, and I mean, there's probably like 100 successful or professional full-time opera singers at this point. There's not, I mean, it's not much. So,
the competition that is really is even tighter. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's it's classical.
It's crazy, and then it's a weird world, and donors are dying and the whole thing, and everyone's closing. So. But yeah, so when I got to Richmond, there was definitely like, I think the beginning of what's going on now, or like when I finally started like going out. Yeah. And that was the thing that like was really different, I would say, than when I was in Baltimore versus when I got here was like
Because
the
Baltimore